Now we take the conversation from Angola to Kenya. The National Rainbow Coalition Kenya party leader, Martha Karua, has announced that she is considering moving to the East Africa Court of Justice, EACJ, to appeal the judgment made by the Supreme Court of Kenya on the 2022 Presidential Election Petition. Recall that the Supreme Court on September 5 or 5th of September threw out the Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga's petition and upheld President William Ruto's win.
Martha Karua, who made the disclosure in Mombasa, claimed that the EACJ will decide if the Supreme Court's judgment was just. She also referenced a section of the judgment where it termed Jose Camargo's claims as hot air. Now here's what she said. The court reminded me that people can walk with hot air. I pledged that hot air will take me to the East Africa Court of Justice. And of course, that's from Martha Karua herself. Of course, it's interesting how we just spoke about a female vice president in Angola. You know, and this was meant to be the same thing was going to be the same thing in Kenya. But yeah. Of course,
of course, many people held hope and thought that having a woman would sway the nation in favor of the party.
It didn't work for Kenya.
But then, of course, we're joined this morning by Daniel Ominde Okoth, who is the lead editor, Africa Blogging. Thank you this morning for joining us. Daniel, are you able to hear us? Can you maybe please unmute your microphone because we can't hear you.
Sorry, thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining us. No, that's fine. Now, President William Ruto was sworn in on Tuesday, and it seems that the dispute over his election is yet to be over. Quickly tell us more about Martha Karua's plan of pursuing this at the EACJ.
So what she said was that she is going to be going to the East Africa Court of Justice to seek redress. She mentioned it as a possibility. It's not quite a definitive next process that she's going to take, but she says there's a possibility of moving to the East African Court of Justice to seek interpretation if the ruling by the Supreme Court of Kenya that dismissed their application for a nullification of the election as was declared by the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission on the 15th of August that declared William Ruto to be elected president of the Republic of Kenya. Because we know that the Supreme Court gave the reasons for that ruling, dismissing the 8 applications that was put before it, indicating, using some very strong language in that decision that they made to the public, and saying that the petitioners failed to prove their case. They failed to present credible evidence other than accusations, to some extent even accusing the petitioners of doctoring documents and swearing for false affidavits. And this is not the first case that Martha Karua is going to the East Africa Court of Justice. When the election of 2007 happened, in which she was running for governor in one of the 47 counties in the country, she was dissatisfied with the process of the elections, and she went to the High Court in Kenya, then the Court of Appeal in Kenya, and eventually the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court managed to, at that time, dismiss her petition, saying it did not have jurisdiction over the said issue. And then she moved to the Court of East African Court of Justice, and the Court of East Africa Court of Justice managed to, award her some damages in a case that she lodged against she lodged the case against the Attorney General of Kenya, who represented the Kenyan government and the judiciary at that time in the manner in which the case was presented before the East Africa Court of Justice. So it's not like it's something she's never done before. She's done this before, and she'll be seeking to go the same way. What remains a question that we'll need to consider is what the ramification of this is. Under the Constitution of Kenya, the law clearly prescribes the process in which a dispute resulting from a presidential election should be dealt with, and Supreme Court of Kenya has sort of a finality when it comes to adjudicating on matters of the presidential election. And the Supreme Court already made their ruling on that, or their judgment on that in this case, and a new president has been sworn in. So it's very difficult. We've not seen that precedent before. It's very difficult to see if we are going to have that decision by the Supreme Court overturned. But if you look at the power of the jurisdiction that the East African Court of Justice have, we are likely to, if she goes that way, we are likely to have an advisory opinion coming from that court with regards to matters of presidential election petitions, not just in Kenya, but also looking at the other courts, the other national courts in the East Africa community where the EACJ has jurisdiction over. And then that could maybe in future form some, legal precedents or jurisprudence that then the internal dispute resolution mechanism for presidential elections, like the Supreme Court in Kenya, would then need to pay attention to when they're making some of these decisions in
can you clarify if the EACJ has the jurisdiction to overturn that ruling in Kenya, and what happens next after the ruling?
When you look at the EAC jurisdictions and how it spells out itself, they are mainly concerned with the disputes that relates to the East African Treaty and how to interpret that. So for that, they have like exclusive jurisdictions. But other than that, they also provide advisory opinions and preliminary rulings that affect national courts. Now, for the one that she got earlier from the EACJ, that was a preliminary ruling. But in terms of, in substance, actually nullifying an election that has already been held, that has been upheld by a Supreme Court, an existing Supreme Court, we've not seen that precedent, and we've not seen even in any of the other courts where the EACJ has gone the direction of trying to claim that it has that authority. But even more straightforward is that the Constitution of Kenya, which is basically the supreme law of this country, has given the Supreme Court of the Constitution of Kenya has actually given the Supreme Court the exclusive jurisdiction when it comes to decisions regarding the presidential election conflicts or conflicts arising out of that. So I don't really see that having an immediate effect in terms of a nullification of Ruto's presidency, but it could inform jurisprudence. It could inform some legal opinion that the courts will then need to rely to when making future determinations. But that again will depend on the exact nature of the petition that's going to be presented in that case when she indeed files.
Very quickly, it would be nice for you to shed some light on what you think Raila Odinga's position might be, because for the very first time yesterday, he spoke publicly since the Supreme Court upheld the presidential election results, and he called the verdict a mess, in his own words. What do you think would be the next steps for Raila Odinga?
The connection is not too good.
Can you say that again?
I'm saying maybe just repeat your question. I think.
Oh, great. I was saying that, can you maybe quickly shed some light on what you think Raila Odinga's position might be? Because for the first time since the Supreme Court verdict, he spoke publicly yesterday and he called the presidential election results a mess. What do you think would be the next steps for him? Do you think he's also heading to the EACJ as well? What do you think would be the next steps for Raila?
Well, Raila Odinga has played a very active role in strengthening our democracy to it becoming what it is right now. If you look at even to the point where we have a very definitive way of dealing with presidential disputes, this is as a result of the processes that he's been involved in challenging elections results. This has been the fifth time he's running in a presidential election, and in most of those times he's managed to go to court and seek determination on certain issues, which actually played a critical role in framing our current constitution that we have, as it sought to try and have a fairer way of determining who is validly elected and what avenues are there for people who feel dissatisfied with that process Because previously we had that being adjudicated under the High Court, but the adjudication was being done after a president had already been sworn in, which means the president who's been sworn in and had power could, in some manner of sense, influence the outcome of those decisions. So we managed to get rid of those. So I still see Raila Odinga played a very active role in activism and pushing for the expansion of our democracy. I still see him being at the forefront in trying to champion a democratic culture, putting forward, going the way of always seeking a legal interpretation of some of these issues, as instead of mass action and the approach of violence, which has in some cases been used in the past. But I also see him slowly, retiring from the political scene. I mean, right now he is 76, 77 years old. In the next 5 years, when we have our next elections in 2027, he will be 82. I think he's probably going to be too old to be running for president. I mean, even the physical strength and agility that's required to do that. But I think he still wants to see himself as an African statesman. He has to see himself as somebody who played an active role in strengthening the democracy and rights that we have in this country.
All right, I would follow up and see where this leads with Martha Karua and the EACJ. Thank you so much for spending time with us this morning, and we look forward to speaking with you again.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.